Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Oh, I hear you. Good evening. Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
My apologies. Basement Politics with Freddy Vazquez. Tonight, my guest is Annette Yarber, candidate for Yonkers City Council, District 2. Good evening. How are you doing this evening?
Okay, I'm fine. And yourself?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I was actually very interested in having this interview with you because I don't know a whole lot about you. And again, and I'm also getting to know a lot about the politics here in Yonkers and the people involved.
Yeah.
So you're someone that I don't know as much about. So I'm very happy to have you on and get to know a lot more about you. So tell us a little bit about your background and where did Annette Yarber begin?
Okay, my name is Annette Yarber. I'm running for City Council, District 2, as Freddy Vazquez mentioned. I started my career, I was born and raised in the Bronx, but my family is from Yonkers. And I started my career with import, export of commodities, which is the stock market. And then I worked as nursing QA at Columbia Presbyterian. And I also worked in the heart and lung transplant unit. And then finally, I decided after I had my son that I wanted to go into teaching like my father. He was in the Air Force and then he taught for 25 years. In the last 2 years before he retired, he was an administrator. My mom was musically inclined. She was a classical music teacher. She did 1 year at Juilliard, which was very difficult to attend that school.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. Wow.
education has been very important in my family and in my life. My parents was advocates. My father, since I can remember, he would take the neighborhood kids to Bear Mountain. They would go camping, introduce them to fishing and baseball teams. And my mom, she was the director of a choir. She was an organist. She used to play the pipe organ. She had her students. She would recommend them to colleges. She have a few students of hers that are surgeons. So she instilled in us the importance of education, and she instilled in us that don't look down on anyone. We're here for a purpose. You need to find your purpose and help those who cannot help themselves. And if you're in a position where you can make a difference, that's what you need to do. So
I
here I
I totally
am.
agree. Sorry. Go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Finish. Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, I agree with that, which what your mom says with purpose, and like you were saying, if you have been able to attain a certain level, I guess, of success, right? I believe it's your duty to pay it forward. All right, and I think that in the district specifically that you're looking to represent as city council, someone with that background is in need. It's real need because that community there, I believe, is one of the parts of Yonkers that I think needs a lot of attention. Would you agree?
Well, I totally agree, Freddie Vasquez, because I just feel, and I've spoken to the business owners, reached out to the young people, the young voters. I've reached out to the elderly, and we all come up with the same conclusion that District 2 has been neglected for far too long. Um, and I think it's time to make a change. You need someone that's not only going to listen to the people, because I do go out. I'm there often. I've reached out to the Asian community. They have my signs posted in their business establishments. I've reached out to the Arab community. Of course, the Black and Brown community, Hispanics. I mean, I've had friends from Colombia, Guatemala, it doesn't matter. And I was so saddened when one person said to me, Annette, how are you going to represent or how are you going to run for office in District 2 when it's 1/3 Hispanics? Oh, so that means that I can't relate to them. I can't help them. I don't understand what they're going through. I can't make things better. I can't understand what matters to them.
Right.
So I thought for someone to say that, they didn't understand what entire politics is about. That is not only being elected, because you can reach out to the community, you can be involved without being in politics, which is what I
Absolutely.
do. I'm an advocate. I'm an advocate in the Bronx. I just attended with the Bronx DA We had a child health fair, which the fire department was there. The police department was there. We had different advocates. We had, different services. And this was just for the children in the community. I tried to do something like that here, but then I was hit with it was about 25 pages just to sort of talk about, it's a lot of red tape.
Yeah.
It's a lot
Yes.
of red tape to get things done. It's a lot of red tape to have a meeting. And I'm going to tell you something else because I'm a talker. I
I
wanted to
like to talk.
oh, thank you. I wanted to have a meeting with one of the principals of the schools. And I worked for the Yonkers Public School before, just like I worked for New York City Public School as a teacher, as an interim assistant principal. So, we set up a meeting. Something had happened. We couldn't meet. And the only thing I wanted to do was to talk about Class Dojo, which was the online remote learning.
Right.
And I also wanted to bring to her attention is this program called the Ruler, Emotional Intelligence with Yale University. But it's just so hard to get things done. And Ruler stands for the acronyms, or you recognize your behavior, you understand, have my notes here. See. You label them. Okay, and let me see. You empower and you regulate. So
Right.
this is something where the children were involved, the administrators are involved, the parents are involved, and it was helpful. But just to try to cut through that red tape, if you're not part of a clique or a group, sometimes it's very difficult. But it doesn't stop me. I'm gonna keep going. So anybody who knows me, I know my motto is rejection. You keep going, keep moving forward, because I focus on the good. But, I had a lot to say, a lot to offer. But sometimes they try to shut you down and say, no, she's not part of us. She's over here. We don't know too much about her. So this is what I'm trying to change, that District 2, I'll be the voice for the low income families, the hardworking families. So you need someone who can sit down at the negotiation table, who can stand their ground, who understands the concerns. I lived in affordable housing. I lived on Blue Street. I lived in areas that was rough areas, so to speak. So, and I also lived on Vanderdonk by the water, and affordable housing. It doesn't work. It's good on paper, but when you get a raise, you sign your 2-year lease, your rent goes up as market value, you're out.
Right. And that,
So I know about it. So
yeah,
I
and
know
that,
what people go through.
and not to cut you off, but I just want to touch on the the activism part and what you said in that you don't have to be elected to be in the community, to be an activist, to be bringing change, right? You can do that as just a resident of the city, right? Someone who loves Yonkers. And
Yeah.
what I've been noticing, and at least in the many of the candidates that I've interviewed, is that they are coming from a background of advocacy, grassroots organizing, and already creating change. And now they want to bring in, I guess, a level up, right, to the political level, because, like you said, in order to get things done, you have to be able to be involved in the politics because there's a lot of red tapes, right? And I've heard that from other advocates who said they've tried to do things, let's say, just in the park for the kids, and they have to get all these permits and just have to go through all this hoops and whatever, and just to get something done for the community. That's going to be great. And I love that, the fact that you're not just saying, hey, I want to do something to improve the schools in Yonkers, but you actually have specific ideas that you want to implement, right? You're coming with an idea that's already laid out, right? And so I appreciate that, and I like that. And I think anyone that's going to represent District 2, and this is just my opinion, right? My opinion means just nothing, but
Yes.
this is my opinion. It's going to have to be someone that's going to be out there in the community, right? I think that's what I hear from a lot of the candidates that are running, those who want to be first-time politicians, that people are saying we don't see them in the community. And District 2, to me, it seems like it's a community that's going to need someone that's going to put on their boots, roll up their sleeves, and be there every day until things start to improve. Would you agree on that?
I definitely would. And I'm glad you brought that up because it all started when I was petitioning and I was knocking on doors and I mean, Freddie, people were trying to invite me in. They come back, we cook dinner. And I was just amazed at the conversations that I was having, because I said, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Are they going to open the doors for me? Are they going to listen to what I have to say? They want me to listen to what they have to say. And I got to tell you that I was pleasantly surprised at the feedback from the young people, from people that said, listen, when you get in office, do me a favor. I mean, the elderly was saying, listen, you could do it. Do me a favor. Don't forget about us.
Right. Right.
Don't forget about us. Don't lose your way. Don't get caught up into, the politics. You're coming here. You're coming to ask us questions. We have concerns. I was writing them all down. And they said, do me a favor. Just don't forget about us. And I spoke to people. I'm going to give you some examples. I spoke to a young lady, and she said, today is my son's anniversary. I said, what do you mean? She said he was shot and killed on Riverdale Avenue. So my heart went out to her. I've heard so many stories. I was at the YWCA. I was with Camille, and she was in charge of the food distribution. And, we were giving out food. We were moving fast because it was really cold out there those particular days. And there was young people, no code,
Yes. And that was, I'm sorry, not to go, but just to add on to that, I'm driving around because, part of my business, I have to go to bank, I have to go different places. And I've seen, through the pandemic, the long lines of individuals in need of food. And like you said, in the cold, I've seen many families. I was out there myself with my wife. We were distributing masks and gloves early on, and we got invited to do so at the Whitecap, I believe, there on Ashburton. And the line, and it was cold out there. And I remember, and I saw one mom with her daughter. She must have been maybe 4 or 5 years old. It broke my heart. I thought about my kids, and the fact that she stood there in that long line in the cold with her daughter because she was in need of food. That's desperation. That's desperation. And that broke my heart. And that's something I want to see politicians really focus on.
And let me tell you so the viewers out there can just understand the integrity and how passionate I am about helping others. I worked for New York City public school. At the time, I was teaching, and it was just the toughest area. It was a CINE school. That means school in need of improvement. And I was there, and a lot of children were considered homeless because they were in shelters.
Yes.
And then a lot of children, they were foster children, and I was a foster mom myself. I took care of a 17-month-old and an 8-year-old. And I just saw the disparities. They were coming in the cold with sneakers on, and it's snowing, and again, no coats. And I said, well, I like Lord & Taylor, right? So I got a job at Lord & Taylor, and I purchased clothing and shoes for those kids.
Wow.
I worked, and I gave my entire check back to Lord & Taylor. And I said to those kids, they said, where did you get these clothes? I said, listen, when you shop at Lord & Taylor, you got a deal. You are going to have these clothes for the rest of your life, because when they have a sale, it's like 70% off. And I gave back that entire check to make sure that I can do my part. I mean, it didn't save the world.
Right. No, but every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. And I think that, and like I tell people, I want to do stuff, and we're doing stuff, but I'm looking to bring everyone together, right? I'm constantly, and people that know me now, they know my passion and the way I talk. I'm very intense, and I'm like, come on, you have to join me. I can't do this alone, right? And I'm pulling people from everywhere. So that's what kind of I'm using my sales skills, that help me out in life to just kind of appeal to people and business people, community leaders, and even the politicians, which is why I've been kind of involved in what I'm doing now, right? And people are, what do you want? What are you looking for? And I'm not looking for anything. I said I am actually. I'm looking to help the community, particularly the youth, right? And going back to what you said, you spoke to that mom whose son was killed on Riverdale, right? Well, just today, 4 people were shot, right? Over there in the Nodine Hill section. I mean, it's still ongoing. And just how do we stop that? How do we stop the shootings?
I'm glad you said that, Freddie. I have something on my phone, and even if you can't hear the sound, I'm gonna show it to you, and then I'm gonna take the audience through this. Okay, this is a young lady that.
So on my way home,
Can you
I
hear
got
me?
shot
Yes.
Okay, so she got
on
shot.
Washington Avenue
On your arm?
in my arm.
Can they see it?
Mm-hmm.
So it went in this way and it came out in the back. So how did that affect your life? And
It's very traumatizing. I'm not the same. It's horrible because I should just be on my way home. I should make it there safe.
so what do you have to say for people that don't think it's real to have gun control and policing?
I think that is very real. And anyone that thinks it can't happen to them, it can happen in the blink of an eye.
So what doesn't happen to you today, it happen to you tomorrow. So what affects you should affect everybody.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, so this young lady, she just said to me today, Miss Annette, it's very traumatizing. She has nightmares. She doesn't go home the same way. A detective came to see her, and all he's concerned with, he says, well, I'm not concerned about you. Like, he actually told her that.
Really?
He said, I'm on a case. He said, I'm on the case. I want to solve the case. She said, I couldn't believe that he said this to me. You know, she said, I was this close from my life being taken away from me. And she said, I can't wear long sleeves. She has a gunshot wound in her arm. It entered her arm and exited the back of her arm. And it's traumatizing. It's real. So there was just an incident today on Elm Street.
Yes.
I was at an affair at 5 o'clock, and then I had the Black Caucus at 6:30, but I got there at 6:50. And it's real. It's happening, and something has to be done about it. You know, something
Absolutely.
has to be done about gun control because it's getting closer and closer to home. It's happening to the 10-year-old boy that was shot. It's just bullets don't have a name. So something needs to be done. The conversation needs to start not tomorrow, but the conversation needs to start now.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted
And
to share that
no,
what happened to that young lady.
absolutely. And trauma is real, right? Trauma is very real. We don't realize sometimes the trauma that we suffer from growing up in these communities. I grew up in Southwest Yonkers. I grew up on Buena Vista. I've lived on
Mhm.
Riverdale. I've seen people get shot. I've seen people literally get killed. I mean, the first time I was in Little League, so that goes to show how old I was. And even the No Dine Hill section, right? You said we need to, focus on it now. Yes, and we should have been focusing on it because it's not a new issue. And I'll tell you a quick story, a personal story of mine. My uncle was actually murdered on the No Dine Hill section right there on Elm Street. And this was in 1991.
Mhm.
And that traumatized not just his kids, but the entire family. It traumatized my dad. He was never the same. And the crazy thing is that the next day after, it happened at night, and then I went to school the next day, and I got in trouble. Right, I got in trouble, and I went to school 16, and I was sent to the office. And the principal says to me, he goes, "You have to get your act together, because if you don't," and he picks up a newspaper, the local newspaper at the time, and he goes, "You're going to end up like this guy." And it's my
Mhm.
uncle. He's talking about my uncle, right? And I didn't
Mhm.
say, I didn't, let him know it was my uncle, but it was a picture of my uncle, and it just kind of blew my mind as a kid. And it just really made me like, I can't, I don't want this life for me. I've seen so many people go the wrong way, so many bad things happen. I think that's what really motivated me to change. But how do we, fix that such a long, problem that's been going on for so long? I mean, talking about 1991, we're in 2021, right? And it's a difficult task. I know it's not going to happen overnight, but the violence and the trauma. I mean, it's something that we're going to have to not just fix the community, but we're going to have to fix individuals who have been living in that community and suffering that trauma for such a long time, right? And I think that's important. Also, the psychological effects, definitely.
And what some people don't realize, what happens in the community trickles over into the school.
Yes.
There were so many incidents where there were a lot of fights. I mean, some of those fights were just it was just unreal. The things that would happen because they were angry, they were upset. So they needed to release this anger, but it was on each other. So I remember something that happened and I'll never forget it. This girl was so angry. Something happened in the community and then it trickled into the school. And then the two girls went at it. One girl put a the lock into a sock, and she kept hitting this girl. And the blood was trailing down the hallway. And school safety were running. And if you're not involved in the community, you don't reach out, you don't talk to people, you don't know that it's happening. It's like you just go on as, the average day. So the only way to resolve it, you need to include the people that were involved in traumatic experience so they can talk about it. You need to sit down and come up with a real plan. That's why I had Zooms even before I petitioned. Real talk, real results, real change, because that's the only way. You have to take one child at a time, one family at a time, one incident at a time, one neighborhood and one community at a time. So that's the only way, is to have that one-to-one. Go out wherever the need is. That's where you go. For the young people, you go to where they are. You meet someone where they are. They don't have to be whatever level you think. You don't have to be a politician to do that, to care. You don't have to speak the same language to care. So it really happened today because, like I said, it's getting closer and closer to home.
Yeah, and compassion should be universal, right? I think that's what you're saying. You should care regardless of where you're from, the color of your skin. And my wife being a social worker, we speak on trauma all the time. And, I even, growing up the way I did, I understand my trauma, right? I was actually born in a jail. So I spent the first 8 months of my life in jail before I bounced around to different family members. And the abandonment issues and the separation issues that I had, lasted for a very long time, and even to this day, right? So that trauma is very, trauma is very deep rooted, and it doesn't go away. And you just only have to learn how to deal with it, which is why I am, was happy when the city council, and I believe Tasha Diaz announced it, that they were including more money in the budget for social workers. I thought that was a great thing, and I think it's very much needed, not just because of the pandemic issues, right? The kids are going to be traumatized. They're even saying PTSD as a result of the shutdown, the pandemic. But there's the need, just the everyday general need of kids going home every day and seeing the things that they see. And particularly like in District 2, right? I went there once in supermarket Food Town there. And, a prostitute walked up to me. And this is broad daylight. And now, so kids are coming home or going to school and they're seeing this, right? So, I mean, what does that say to the kids? What does that do to them and their confidence? Right. And their sense of pride. So how do we really, I know we got the social workers, but if you are elected, are there, besides, I know you have the educational things, is there any programs that you seek to bring to the community, to your district, to your constituents, resources that can help better their situation? Is there anything that you've been working on or like to work on if elected?
Now, what I suggested with police reform and anything relating to trauma or the nature of the call when it comes in, not only a police officer needs to go on the scene, a peace officer needs to go on the scene, or someone with a background in social work needs to go on the scene, because it could be related to mental health issues. So that's my first proposal. The next is, children sometimes are the product of their environment. So you walk outside, you see trash on the street, homelessness, parent might not be working. I mean, you don't have hope. You don't have any hope. So you need to see communities that are uplifted, a community that needs a hand up, not a handout. You need to have someone in office that has the knowledge, experience, but the passion and the caring to go with it, that understands the two sides of the coin, that understands that even though it's a lot of red tape, rejection. You get it done, no matter what. There's people's lives are at stake. You don't know when someone is really on the edge, where kind words can help. Going to see how they are, having that conversation. I have conversations all the time. So you need someone with integrity, someone who's been through it. You know, you can't talk about things if you sort of never been through it yourself. So my proposal is to beautify the neighborhood, not just to have new investors with gentrification, but come with a plan and say,
Right.
if you're going to uplift the community, if we're going to start fixing the sidewalks, as I talked to the business owner, let's fix the sidewalks. Let's replace the graffiti with art and sculptures. And while I was petitioning, I met so many people that said, well, I go to City Hall, I can't get through. I can't, introduce new ideas. I mean, you have music and art majors, and I was talking with them, and they said, why? They said, that's the way it is. So I think that's a problem. I think people should know that people have a lot to offer. But if you're always saying, oh, no, they're not in politics, they don't know what they're talking about, then you'll never uplift the community. So
Right.
I think when children go out, they see that someone cares. You have art, you have sculptures, and instead of graffiti, I'm going to tell you what happened not too long ago. I was going into the post office on South Broadway, and I went in and I saw graffiti. I said, oh my God, graffiti is in the federal building. So I talked to the teller, and she says, well, you want to talk to the manager? I said, yes. So the manager came, and we conversed, and he said, all it takes is a work order. So I said, you're kidding me. He said, go on this website. I put in the work order. 24 hours later, I get a response. The following week, I mean, the pictures are on my website. I showed the before and after. All it took was a conversation, a work order, and it was done. So it doesn't take much. I mean, the store owners were talking about, well, I think we should be uniformed. I mean, we need a little facelift, so I think, we can have developers come in and we can make a change together. They said, we need someone like you. The person, you come right to us. You ask us questions. I said, I have a whole list. They said, but I want to be anonymous. I don't want to be singled out. And I said, don't worry, I'll mention on Freddy Vazquez, basement politics. I'll mention it to put it out there, but I would never mention a name. But I think there's so much to do, and people in District 2, they have a lot to offer, but you need to have the conversation. You need to go where they are.
Absolutely. And that's not something that that is rare, what you said. I've heard that before. There's this fear among some people, a lot of people actually, that if they make any noise, that they're going to suffer some form of repercussion. And I just don't understand that. I don't get where that, why is that even a reality? Why is that even something that we have a conversation or people even fear or feel, right? Why do you think that is?
Well, I find that it's with housing. A lot of people, they don't want to, go against the grain. They don't want to say what's really happening with the landlords. They're in fear of their apartment or where they live. A lot of people are in fear to approach someone in, city council maybe, or city hall. I'm not sure where that fear comes from, but I don't have it.
And I don't either. I've been warned. I've actually been warned by people But I say I don't have the fear. I mean, I don't have nothing to hide, and I'm not doing anything that I should fear for, right? My intentions are pure. Looking to build awareness, right? And just involve the entire community, not just a select, you know, population of the
Right.
community. Everyone
Right.
should be involved. Everyone should be made aware. And like going back to the housing, I just uploaded today a podcast on affordable housing, the Yonkers Affordable Housing Ordinance, where I speak on the Yonkers Affordable Housing Ordinance. What is it? You know, what is an AMI, right? What is the Westchester County AMI versus, you know, the proposed Yonkers AMI? Because many people, and even I didn't know until I went and, you know, I researched it myself so I can learn about it. So that way I can then tell others about it because it's important. That affects them, right? And I think that people are scared to speak up. Maybe that's also preventing them from learning more, you know. And also, like you said, it's about doing it. But if people have fear to, then they're not going to do it, right? And I'll
Right.
go give you a quick example, also similar to yours, where my wife, she saw a some ad or something for a grant, right? And she went and applied. Just, hey, let me just apply for this grant, and she got it, and she donated to the Yonkers Public School. She and to the Yonkers Council of PTAs, and what they ended up doing was getting students new laptops. It just so happens the pandemic came around, and now there was some money there for some students.
Mhm.
And my wife just did this on her own, right? She just said, "I'm going to do this. I want to get involved," and I think that's a great message, and we have to. But we have to, you know, get rid of that fear that some people have, because there are a lot of people that do want to get involved, but they're just very cautious about it. So I think that has to definitely change. But anyway, going back to you know, just some of the programs and things that we need in the community. And I love what you're saying. I love that you're all about getting in there, getting in the community, and reaching out to the people, engaging the people. I think that's what's needed, right? So in the past, let's say 5 years, has there been any improvement in the district? Has there been any positive changes? I mean, I know you're running because you don't, you believe that there could be more, right? But have there any changes occurred, or we
Uh,
just really need something different?
well, I've seen some changes, for instance, with the infrastructure, the roads, or, they pave the roads. I mean, that's important. I also see new startup businesses in on South Broadway. We have that shoe store, Snipes. They're doing very well. They have
Yes.
another shoe store in like West 230th in the Bronx. So
Yeah, they're on
they're
the corner of Radford and South Broadway, correct?
exactly. And then
And
I
I just
see
want to give them
long
a shout out.
lines. I see long lines to get in there. So they're
Oh,
doing
nice.
well. And then La Pinata, they have also a bakery on Main Street, and they opened up the second bakery. And I met the woman there, Cecilia. And lo and behold, she's involved with, she's a program specialist as well. And she was involved in the program to distribute laptops. I mean, little did I know, it just through conversations and being persistent. And I kept going there saying, is the owner here? Is the owner here? I want her to get involved and understand what we're doing with No Kids Hungry. And we're trying to have this virtual bake sale, but I want to actually involve her and La Pinata in our bake sale, and it was successful. We had Mother's Day. We're giving out roses to the parents and cupcakes and taking pictures, and they just felt good about themselves. Like, it doesn't take much,
Right.
but I just think that the people have told me time and time again, it's not just the budget. It's not the budget because it's what you do with the money, the funding that's allocated to the district. Does it actually, where does it actually go where it's supposed to go? What is the need? So they need to see that person there. And I've heard it time and time again. The
Right.
young people, the business owners, when I was petitioning, when I go on South Broadway, when I go on other parts, Park Hill, when I go, they don't see the council person.
Right.
They want to see you. They want you to come. They want you to be visible. They want you to have
Absolutely.
like a child health fair. Do something for the community. Not just give food 3 weeks before the election. Not make announcements 3 weeks before the election. Not post signs 3 weeks before the election. And I made a comment about that. I said, lawn signs don't get votes. And then when I tried to put a lawn sign, I guess people were like, "Oh, I thought she said lawn sign." No, you put in the work and you do the
Right.
lawn signs.
Right.
That's what gets the vote.
Right, absolutely. And and one of my concerns with I definitely want to see the area improve, but one of my concerns is how it gets improved, right? And is there any concern, or do you have any concerns that they are going to eventually improve District 2, revitalize it, right? Which is another word for regentrification, right?
Yeah.
Uh, do you believe, or do you have some kind of fear that it could potentially turn into what the waterfront, right, where they bring in all these nice things, but it's not for those that are here now or there now? Is that a concern of yours?
Well, gentrification is real, but it's different components to gentrification. Um, Gentrification can be infiltrated into the district. However, there needs to be a plan and a discussion and a proposal for the developers that this is what we propose, and you can come in to do X, Y, and Z, but we have a say so with this as well. And you involve the community in the decision making as opposed to taking over the neighborhood, never knocking on doors. It's like you knock on doors for the petition, never in saying, well, we're going to have this public hearing, we're going to have these meetings, and we're going to come to a consensus, and we're going to figure out how to improve the neighborhood. So you know what I pose, that it's not necessarily that you have to wait for someone to do it. Sometimes you just have to take matters into your own hand and just have your own committee, like your show here. Like,
Right.
you just can't wait and depend on the politicians to do the work to make it happen, because it's going to be the way they want it to be without including all the people in the narrative. And that's what I'm afraid of.
Well, and recently I was speaking with someone, and from what I gather from that conversation, there is a group of citizens, a committee that is negotiating with the developers. And
Mhm.
so I said, okay, great. Well, can you, give us a little bit of insight? What's going on? I mean, we like to know. I think the public should know if members of the community are involved in this committee, why aren't the other members of the community at least aware of what's
Right.
transpiring in these meetings? And they said, well, I can't let that out right now. And I said, well, I think that's important. We have primaries coming up, right? And whatever's being discussed, I'm sure that politicians are influencing it somehow, right? So we like to know who's
Exactly.
supporting what, and who's supporting whatever. And so I just found the secrecy a little strange. And why are you, particularly your group of members of the community, involved, but the rest of us aren't? So I didn't like that, and I think that you're like, I agree. We need to be involved, and it needs to be a public discussion, right? Not a small
To
group
be
private discussion.
transparent.
Absolutely. We need a lot more transparency, especially if it's members of the community, right? Why are they more special than us, right? And then also, what is your take on the whole affordable housing trust fund, right? So we have this affordable housing trust fund here in Yonkers, which basically allows for certain developers to not meet the required city or the affordable housing ordinance, of which is currently 10%, and instead they allow to put some money into a fund to build affordable housing elsewhere, either at the same time or at a later time. What do you feel about the trust fund? Do you agree with that they should be allowed to have that option, or should they make all developments include the affordable housing ordinance of at least 10%, which is at now?
I think it should be transparent. It should be inclusive. I think that they should allow them to. They shouldn't agree on just 20%, 10%. They should agree on 20%. So I would just go back and forth in the bargaining table, because one minute it's one way, and then the next, in the long run, you get the tail end of the say, especially the low income and hardworking families. So what I truly feel in my heart is that the main focus is by the waterfront. And I mean, for them to uplift and make changes on South Broadway, I just think politicians are going to take over. And I just don't think the people are going to be included. That's just my take.
I agree. And I like you said, why did we, and even with the community, we say, you don't have to wait to get involved in the community. You don't have to be a politician. But even to the politicians, you don't have to wait till a developer comes in to develop and beautify the area. Why does it feel like there's this need to have this relationship with developers? Like it almost seems like we need them, right? Without them, Yonkers is just never gonna prosper. I mean, is that correct? Or
I'm glad you said that because we don't need them, to be honest with you. To be on, I mentioned my experience with the federal building, how it was a work order that I put in and changes were made. If we come together collectively, the community, all people come together, the business owners, I think we can do it without gentrification, without the investors. I just think that the politicians is something in it for them. That's why they're agreeing to it. Because one of the things that I don't like about investors in gentrification is that their main goal is to bring out of towners into the city. And they, a lot of people are going to just be left out and they're going to be leaving Yonkers in droves. And they're not even going to recognize their area. So my thing is reface the buildings. I've heard store owners talk about, oh, well, why don't we just have new awnings? It could be burgundy and white, just to have a uniformed area. Let's just take one store at a time. Let's use where there's a tree on, South Broadway. Let's just have planter boxes and plant some flowers and, just replace the graffiti with art and sculptures and involve the young people in that process. So we could do it ourselves. We don't really need gentrification, but I think it's an underlining thing there for the politicians. That's why they welcome gentrification, but we really don't need it, because if everything is hush hush and it's not transparent, it's something festering, it's something bigger that doesn't involve the people that live there and the people that put you in the office.
right. And so going back to the affordable housing trust fund, right? My concern with that is that if developers are allowed to bypass the housing ordinance and just simply put money into this fund,
Mhm.
would that cause low income housing to be concentrated to one particular area of town? Right? If they say, okay, we're going to do these developments, we're going to bypass the ordinance, and then we're going to develop some low affordable housing over here on this side. Now you're kind of separating, right, people by class.
Yeah.
I think the only way that it should be done, if you're going to do it, is to have to include them all in development, right? Raise the ordinance. 20% doesn't even seem like much, but at least it's better than 10%, and include low income earners with whatever earners who are paying the market rate, which I think also does a lot more for humanity and the community as a whole. Right? Would you agree with that?
Yes, I just don't want to see District 2 turn into the haves and the have-nots, that, they're separated and, this section over here is only for the, low income and, the single moms and whatever have you. And this section over here, it's for the elite or, six-figure salaries. So I agree. I don't condone that. I just think it should be 20% and not put it, an ordinance to put it in a different fund.
I agree. And the No Dine Hill section in particular, the real estate there, it's it's in dire need. A lot of the properties there are in distress, and I don't see that anyone fixing them up. It's almost like are they allowing this to just deteriorate to the point where then the developers do eventually come and buy it cheap, right, and then develop it up. Is that something that also concerns you? Because there are also concerns with landlords in that area that are not, doing the job, slumlords as they call them, correct?
Mhm.
What also would you do in dealing with slumlords, right? Because we've had incidents where buildings were shut down in the middle of winter, just before the holidays, and people were forced out of their home and had their Christmas gift stolen.
Yeah.
So
I
how do we?
think we should have tenant associations. So tenant associations, you have meetings once a month. You target the concerns. You have work orders, and just like I did put in the work order for a federal building, you have work orders with the housing association. You have meetings that everyone is aware, because information is important, to be aware that the meetings are on this day, and this is the going to be the discussion. This is the agenda, and someone that follows through, not just at first, oh, we're going to have a housing association, and then someone drops the ball. So if you put that in place and you have someone who's diligent and cares about the people, that's been through it, that's going to get it done, because you know their background, they have a rapport with the community, they've seen the work that I've done without being a politician. So I think that would make a difference. The housing association, tenant association, the housing
Ab-
association.
Absolutely, I agree. You have to get the community involved, right? And I think sometimes that can be challenging, right? And and there are definitely people who want to get involved, but we also have a lot of things on our plates as well, just going to work, kids and stuff. But um, definitely, it takes the community to get involved. How do
Yeah.
we engage the community, bring this awareness? And I know I'm trying to do it through this podcast, and I know you're out there in the community reaching out to people. But how do we really? What can we do to get more people involved and be consistent?
I'm glad you mentioned that. The same way we were knocking on doors to get the petition signed, you knock on doors and say, this is what we're putting together. We would like to include you in the process. We would like for you to attend the meetings, whether it's Zoom or um, whether it's some other means of getting involved. But you knock on doors, you get the information out. Social media, I'm always on social media, getting any information I can out to the people. I'm always driving around, talking to people, seeing who wants to be involved. So that's the only way. One person at a time, one family at a time, one neighborhood at a time.
I agree, and I believe you. I believe you because I see that you generally want to get in the community, and I know that you've been out there, and you just come across as someone that will actually be in the community, speaking to everyone every day. I definitely
Mhm.
believe you. So, if
And
elected,
by the
right?
way, I went to Geno's.
Oh, I know. I'm glad you did, and I said that. I said, "Wow." I'm glad that. Did you like it?
It was delicious. It reminded me of Bronx pizza. And, I
Good.
made friends. I said, Freddie sent me here. They said, Freddie, who's Freddie? Showed the picture. They said, oh, yeah, he's always in. He's always on the phone making deals or whatever he's doing. But that pizza was delicious, Geno's. And it's not going to be my last time there. So I
Good,
appreciate that.
good. Well, what I do is I try to also support local businesses, right? Along with supporting the community and helping people, find services like my wife does a lot, or just mentoring people. Recently I've been
Yes.
mentoring two gentlemen who are business, in the startup phase of their business. They have ideas, but they just don't know how to evolve that idea into a successful business. So I take them on and I say, come on, come join me. And I talk with them. I have meetings with them and I help guide them. One guy, he's into the apparel. He wants to start a hat and shirt line, which I think is great. I like the idea. So I'm meeting with him and my marketing people next week on Tuesday. So we can help him and see how we can better him. I'm all about that. I'm not looking for anything.
Right.
So I always support. I have a page called local support local businesses. So I'm
Mhm.
glad that you went and showed that support. So and
Yes, sir.
this is what I mean. This is why I believe you, right? Because I mentioned it and you actually went and did it. You went to the community, you spoke to the business owners there at Geno's, and you actually involved. You're a real human, right?
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
appreciate that. And so if elected, right, what is your plan day one? What are you going to begin doing on day one if elected?
Okay, I promised the business owners. They said, Annette, keep your promise. Whatever you do, don't say you're going to do something and then you get caught in politics. They said, what's the first thing you're going to do? I said, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to every business owner and I'm going to ask them what are their needs? What are their concerns? How are we going to bring more business from the community to their stores? They said, well, I'll do it, but I want to remain anonymous. Like we mentioned, you know, they're scared or whatever, intimidated. So that's day one. That's something that I can definitely do because I'm doing it now. I said, whatever you say the need is, I'm there. Let's put it down on paper. Let's get it done. Let's figure out how we're going to do this together. So that's one thing that I'll do on day one. The next thing is to talk about the housing association or the tenant association, because when I was petitioning, I heard 90% of the time affordable housing. It's difficult. 75% or more of my check is going towards the rent. We need help. Nobody understands. There are programs, but like you said, the AMI. Oh, you just missed it by $300. Then what happens to the person who's not eligible? So we got to fix that. The housing associations, we have to set that up. I need volunteers, people who live in the building to be part of or chairperson of the housing association. Because when you know better, you do better. You have to be the type of person that knows how to bring people together. You have to be the type of person that knows how to motivate people, because that's very important. And they have to know that you're authentic and you're transparent. So, and then the young people, they're going to be included. Because you've seen me, I've gone out to the basketball court. They were cheering me on. You can do it. And I made that shot. You know why I made that shot? Because they were saying, you can do it. And you know, what was the young kid's word? He said, chop it up, chop it up, chop it up. You got to see that video, because I said, you think I can do it? They said, you can do it. And I made the basket. So all you need is a little encouragement. They need mentors. I know it's a group that I met. They were on South Broadway one day and I stopped the car. I'm always in it. They were giving out food and I said, what's your name? And they said, well, we're cool. They had on sweatshirts, 914 United.
Oh,
so
yes.
I just
Jonathan Alvarez. I'm sorry, I shout out 914 United.
Right there on Lawrence Avenue, and I'm giving back to the community. I mean, very involved. So it's just so many people that want to roll their sleeves up. They want things to be happening, but it's a lot of red tape. Sometimes one person is acknowledged and the other person isn't, but collectively we could do so much. So, like I said, the tenant association, affordable housing, the businesses to express their concerns, and also the youth involved to beautifying the area, because they're young, they're strong, they have good ideas to beautify the neighborhood. So that's my, I mean, I have more, but those are the three top things that I would do.
And they're definitely important. The youth, absolutely important. That's why I get involved. That's where my passion lies. And affordable housing is extremely important. I recently read a study, according to a Westchester housing study, the county conducted a study. They found that 49.9, 50% of the households in Yonkers were living in a or paying rent that was a burden to them, or they were struggling or just barely making it. So basically, any little thing that happens, they can be homeless at that moment. That's half of the households in Yonkers. They're living maybe one paycheck away from being homeless. So that's why I think affordable housing is extremely important. And this 10% thing is just not enough. And even 20% is not enough. But I also, as a business person, understand that you can only go so much before it doesn't make sense for the developers. And then they pull away. But maybe, hey, then we'll pull in and we'll do our stuff, right? And I like that idea. And really quick, and just you mentioned, and you have a lot of great ideas, right? But you mentioned the red tape, right? So you get elected. You are the councilwoman for District 2. and now you want to go in and implement some of the ideas that you have, but you're finding that you're getting a lot of pushback. How do you deal with that?
The first thing, let me just show you something. Okay, this is the application. If you would like to have a fair function in the community. So I wanted to collaborate with a few people and put together a child health fair. So it was a lot of red tape. First, I faxed it, no response. Then I made a phone call. I was transferred, left messages, no one responded. Then I sent someone to get the paperwork to mention it. Oh, well, she's going to have to fill this out, and it's a $400 application fee. And, if she's not approved, she's not going to get that back. And she has to go to the police department, and she has to go to the fire department, and she has to do this. So that's one of the things I'm going to fight to eliminate all that red tape. Because you really care, you're not going to have someone do that. It's
right.
You're getting transferred. And I heard that too when I was petitioning. Oh, City Hall, you get transferred and you leave a message and no one ever gets back to you. But when you actually do it, you see that they're not making that up. It's true. It's too much red tape on a lot of things. So this is number one with I told you I had a list. This is number one, the red tape. You sit at the table, say, this application right here, it's got to go. It's got to go.
Show the application again. Now I have the screen bigger. And you said how many pages is the application?
See that number? 25 pages.
25. Wow.
And it's a $400 application fee. It's right in my desk drawer. That's where I put it. And then
not many people have $400 to just, and they have the kindness in their heart to do this, but they may not have the $400. Right? How do we get it done?
Shouldn't be $400, maybe $100.
Right. And I get it. They have to pay for certain things. If it's an event where they may need police officers present, or put, I don't know, things up or clean up after the event, they have to pay for people to do that. I get it. But I think, like
Freddy, the thing is, not initially 400. It should be initially, the initial application should be $100. And then as you go along, okay, well, you get other people involved, say, well, the initial application, we were approved. Now we have to come up with a little more. I mean, meet us halfway.
Right. And that's what I was going to say, work with the people, because again, I understand there are costs involved. However, I think when there's something that's positive that a member of the community wants to do, we should find every reason to get it done, right? Not find excuses or have red tape restrictions or limitations. And, that's a complaint actually that a lot of people have had, And so how do we, a person like me and a person like you, let's say that we're not elected, how do we, get to a place where we have this, organization or these community events that we do regularly without having to go through so much? And I hope that when you get in there and you are the councilwoman for District 2, that's something that you will make a lot easier, because then I will be coming to you and say, hey, this is what I want to do. Help me out. And I'm sure because I do want to do some things. And I've talked about this with other candidates and other people in the community who are, doing things, organizations and stuff. I want to put on a couple events this summer for the kids. I may pick a couple different parks, but and I'm not looking to get funding so much, although I would love it, but I'm looking more for just to be able to do it, even if I have to pay out of pocket, right? So I'm hoping that it's not too crazy, from what you're telling me, but that's definitely one of my goals. So that just goes to what you were saying, that it doesn't take, you being elected to get involved. And that's just what I'm doing. And I'm going to show that I'm not here to get elected. I don't want to be a politician. I'm not sure if that's something that I could deal with, but I commend those who throw their hats in the ring and truly, genuinely want to make a difference in the community, especially when that difference is needed, right? And I think you're looking to represent a district that needs someone strong, someone that's committed, and someone that's genuine. And that's how you've come across to me today. So before,
I have to say something that is just came across me about a student that I once had. And, you know, I was teaching students with disabilities, and the classroom was just all boys. And they put me in that environment. And I said, no problem. I can wear my sneakers. I can handle them. And I did. So this particular young man, he would come to school, you know, where's your homework? Oh, I hadn't did my homework. So I said, you know, I'm going to call your grandma. He was in a situation. His father was incarcerated. The mom was just out there, and he lived with his grandmother, 3 siblings in a 1-bedroom apartment on School Street. So it was Friday, and he didn't do his homework all week. And I said, okay, I got something for you. And he didn't know what it meant, but I got in my car. He took the school bus. Every stop the school bus made, I was following that school bus, and I couldn't wait to get to his place of residence. And it stopped at School Street. I parked my car. I said, yeah, I told you, if you didn't do your homework, I got something for you. And this is what it is. Let's go see grandma. So I went to the grandma. She said, oh, really? He's not doing his homework? Yeah, he's not doing his homework. You know, he's making excuses. She says, okay, tell you what. He goes to an after-school program right down the block. So I went there and I spoke to the guys, and I said, listen, I'm his teacher. And they said, you're his teacher. They was all, oh my God, I can't believe this teacher came here.
Yeah.
So I said, listen, he's not doing his homework. He has a lot of potential, and I'm not letting him fall through the cracks. I said, if he doesn't come to you and says he has homework, don't let him play basketball. Do you know he straightened up?
Wow.
He straightened up because you have to do your part. You cannot wait for someone to say, this is the right thing to do. You should do that. It's innate. It's in me. My parents, they were the same way. My grandfather, he had the only church in Elmsford, New York. So this is the type of person, when you elect me, this is what you're going to get. Real talk, real results, real change.
And that's amazing. I mean, you know, there's a ton of teachers that I'm sure would have stories like that, but it's also rare because there are a lot more teachers out there. And, you know, I don't often hear a story like that. And I think that's one of the first stories that I've heard where a teacher did something like that. And that just shows how much you care, how much you're committed to the student's success. And what that did for that student, I would imagine, is that it showed him that somebody cared. And you know what? Maybe I need to care also about myself. Because oftentimes that's the, you know, the case with young people. They don't feel like someone cares about them. So why are they going to care about themselves? That's amazing. That's amazing. And, you know, we definitely, you know, need more teachers like that. But again, there are a lot of great teachers, because I never want to take away from it. But that's definitely an amazing story. And again, that's why I believe that you would be out there. I believe I would see you all the time in the community in District 2. I'm in the area a lot. I go to Geno's a lot, you know. So it's one of the many places I drive up and down South Broadway to go. So I'm sure I'll see you. So before I let you go, and it was great meeting you and speaking with you. And I hope to do a lot of things with you, because you can always reach out to me. And if you need some support in any way, especially when it's something for the community, I'm always here. You know, you can always reach out to me, and I would be more than happy to do it. But before I let you go, I want to give you the opportunity just to speak to the people, the residents of Yonkers, and particularly those in District 2. I want you to let them know, why should they vote for you come June 22nd on the primaries, and why you deserve to represent the city council of District 2.
The reason why I know that I'm the right person, because my heart, my mind, and my experience is in the right place. I know what people are going through. I've spoken to the young people. I've spoken to business owners. I've spoken to people that were in situations where they gave up hope. I know that there's a lot to be done. I know that I can't do it alone, but I know when I come with my plan and I stick to it, and I meet with the people, I know that I can make a difference. I know that we can have a better District 2, and I know that we can uplift the community without gentrification, without investors. We can do it ourselves. But if you want more of the same, then I'm not the person for you. But if you want real change, you want positive change, I'm the person that you should vote for. June 22nd, row 10A, Annette Yarber for City Council, 2nd District.
Oh, sorry, Ned. Did you? I'm sorry, I had it on mute. My wife actually came down and she said, "I don't hear you. I don't hear you." She's kind of like my technical person. I put it on mute to give you the opportunity to speak without any interruptions. But I wanted to say, again, ladies and gentlemen, Annette Yarber, City Council candidate for District 2. Again, if you see her out there, say hello. She's going to be in the community. I believe what she says she's going to do. She's been already getting it done. So if you are a member or a constituent of, I should say, of District 2, a resident, please make sure you go out and vote. June 22nd, the primaries, but early voting opens June 12th, correct? So you have an opportunity to vote early, but make sure you go vote if you're in District 2 and you want change. Annette Yarber, thank you so much. Again, you could have been anywhere, but you're here with me tonight. I appreciate your time. I know you're very busy.
That this was made from a store on South Broadway. Muhammad, I said that I would wear it. And Muhammad and Val, you did a great job. And I appreciate you. Thank you.
Awesome. Do they have a, does the business have a name? Or is there an address, maybe, if anyone looking to stop by?
It's on the same block as Gino's.
Okay.
Same time as Gino's. You can't miss them. And they
Thank you very much.
The window, and they said T-shirts and masks. You can't miss them.
Awesome. There you have it. Support local businesses. And that's another reason why I like you a lot. I love that you mentioned the local businesses a lot. You were very consistent with that message, and I appreciate it. So local businesses, you hear that? You hear that? Constituents of District 2, please make sure you go vote. Early voting, June 12th. Primaries, June 22nd. Thank you so much, Annette Yarber. You have a great night. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. And I apologize about that. Sometimes I put the mic on mute because I don't want any noises going in while the candidates are talking. So again, I apologize for that. But I just want to remind the folks that on this Sunday, June 13th, I'm going to have Christopher Johnson, County Legislator, District 16, joining me in the basement. That's going to be a great conversation because I'm going to have my wife join. So if you like my wife and you want to hear her speak, she'll be joining us. June 13th, that's this Sunday at 8 o'clock. Westchester County Legislator running for re-election of District 16, Christopher Johnson. And next, the following Sunday, June 20th, happy Father's Day, folks. I will be having City Council President Mike Cater joining me as he runs for re-election in his four-way race. He's going up against Lakeisha, Collins Bellamy, Pete Spano, Ron Matten, and who else was he going? I forget. But anyway, there you go. The four-way race, and he'll be joining me June 20th. So don't miss that because I'm going to have an awesome giveaway for the dads. Dads, happy Father's Day. Join me that day, June 20th at 8. The raffle will be sick, as my son says. Thank you for watching. Have a good night. Make sure you go and vote. Early voting starts June 12th. The primaries, June 22nd. So if you truly want change, you have to go vote. Let's do it. Let's bring something better to Yonkers for everyone in Yonkers, especially those that have been here forever, the longtime residents of the city of Yonkers. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. I hope to see you this Sunday when I'm joined by Chris Johnson. Please join me. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a good evening. Enjoy your weekend. Good night, everyone.